been accused of saying something that you really didn't say? Sometimes it works out, sometimes it's humorous, sometimes it's a complete disaster, right? Well, let me lay a new one on you tonight. Have you ever thought you heard some stuff said that Jesus never really said? We're going to talk about that right after the music.
From the highest of heights to the depths of the sea, creation's revealing your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring, every creature unique in the song that it sings, all exclaiming, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. Who's told every lightning bolt where it should go, or seen heavenly storehouses laden with snow? Who imagined the sun and gives source to its light, yet conceals it to bring a the coolness of night? None can fathom, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God. Indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. Indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. Incomparable, unchangeable. You see the depths of my heart and you love me the same. You are amazing, God.
So at one time I titled this talk, Really Important Stuff That Jesus Never Said. I'm not saying that some of the stuff that I'm talking about tonight doesn't matter. It does. But so many folks in the buckle of the Bible Belt have invented this Jesus that really does not exist. And I just wanted to give you 4 things to think about. Hopefully the core of what I'm trying to get you to do is just check and see who the real Jesus is. Not the religious Jesus, maybe not the Jesus that you're dogmatic or hyper fundamental parent presented to you, just think about the Jesus of the New Testament. Join us in this great thing called the Jesus movement. There's some things that he never did say that I've heard people claim that he did. You know, the first one is follow me and I will bring you freedom from pain, fabulous fortune, and maybe even some warm, fuzzy feelings. You ever heard that? I even heard of a very influential pastor that told a reporter one time when asked why he drove such an expensive car. And he said this. He said, well, do you really think people would want to follow Jesus if I had a bad car? That would make Jesus a loser, wouldn't it? Come on, people. That's really not the Jesus of the New Testament. As a matter of fact, Jesus, if we get right down to it, never promised that we would be wealthy. Matter of fact, in 8:20 of Matthew told us when Jesus was asked a question about where he lived and his current circumstances, he said, foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. He never promised that would be wealthy. He even never promised that we would always be emotionally high and always on some mountaintop. In Acts chapter 9 and verse 16, remember these words, this is what he said to the Apostle Paul, who at the time was a terrible man. He said, look, after you follow me, when you choose to follow me, I'm going to show him how much he must suffer for my name. He also never promised that we would live a pain-free life. Isn't that something? Philippians chapter 4, Paul would tell the people in that wonderful church, he says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or living in want. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Paul got it. But yet he never realized, he never came to a point, never thought, never assumed that following Jesus was going to be easy, always up, and always safe and secure. See, Jesus never promised that we would be well liked. As a matter of fact, Jesus promised just the opposite. Read what he said. John would record this. Jesus said, if the world hates you, remember that it hated me. The world would love you as one of its own if you belong to it. And Jesus would go on to explain the cost of discipleship. You know, Jesus never said those things. Let me tell you what he did promise. When we hit hard times, when the warm fuzzies of following Jesus in faith are not there, here's what Jesus promised. Number one, he promised that he would give us peace. John again would record, he said, I have told you these things. This is what Jesus said, so that in me you can have peace. Now, he went on and described what it's going to be like to live here on planet Earth. He said, you're going to have trouble, but I've overcome it. Matter of fact, Jesus would even go on and tell us that in addition to providing us peace, he would never, ever leave us. And that thing that many of us that grew up in church know as the Great Commission. We call it reaching the unreached and teaching the reached here. That's who we are at Crossbrand. You remember that in Matthew 28 when Jesus said to go and make disciples. But the last thing Jesus reminded those boys, because he knew what trouble they would be facing in life, is that he would never, ever leave them. He would be with them to the end of the world. He also promised that he'd prepare a place for us, even in the event that our death is near, even in the event that we don't know and it's an accident, we draw our last breath. Jesus is saying, listen, calm down, be at peace. I can't promise you all this cush in life. Life will be hard, but Jesus would say, I'm going to be waiting on you. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. Jesus said, I'll be there. I'll be there. So as I close, there's a great, great writer, great, great pastor, Max Lucado. And Max would say one time, God loves you just the way you are, but refuses to leave you that way. And oftentimes, even though we would love to have heard Jesus say, life's going to be easy, full of warm fuzzies, it's not what he said. So tonight, I've given you one in a talk we'll catch up with next week on some of the really important stuff that Jesus never said. If you've got questions, prayers that you need, please reach out to our online host. God bless you. We'll see you next week.